Alright guys, welcome to this page of the notes, and now what we're going to do is remember that first objective was evaluating logarithmic expressions. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some time to go through some logarithmic expressions and show you how to evaluate them. I'll show you we'll talk about not only how to do it on your calculator, whether you have the TI-84 graphing or just a scientific calculator, we'll go through all of that with you, but also show you how you can do it without a calculator, because actually you for some of the easier ones, you really don't even need a calculator to do them, and I'll show you how that works. So let's just jump right into this. And a couple of things here. First of all, when it comes to evaluating these expressions, first I want to talk about this, right? There's a couple of differences between the logs that you're going to be evaluating. Please notice that in all of the example problems I have here on the page, right, these last 3 or 4, the base is given, right? I have a log base 16. I have a log base 3. I have a log base 1/2. But in the first one, there's no base written. And so the very first thing I need to tell you is this. Very, very important. Our very first note. If no base is written, then it's an implied base 10. Okay, so what we're going to do in algebra, in fact in all of math, if it's a logarithm base 10, we're not going to write the 10. We won't write it. You need to know if there's no base written, it's an implied 10. So I go right back up here to the problem that we were just looking at, right? There it is. And I don't have a base written. So you know it's a log base 10, which is awesome. We love log base 10. So let me just, for the sake of this example problem, our first time through, you know it's an implied base of 10. We're not going to write it. I won't write it on quizzes, tests, or homework. If you're not taking this class with me, if you're taking it with someone else, I guarantee your teacher's not going to write it. Base 10 is implied. We don't write it. You will see this. And if there's no base there, you need to know that it's implied 10, which is great for you because on every calculator, graphing or scientific, there is a log base 10 button right on the calculator. So if you're given a log base 10 where the 10 is not written because it's implied, all you have to do is find the log button on the calculator. So let me come back down here and give this to you. All calculators have a log base 10 button on them. What you're looking for is the button that has log written right on it. If you're using the TI-84 graphing calculator, it's going to be just to the left of the button that has a 7 on it, right? Just look to the left of it, you'll see a button that says log right on it. That is log base 10. So all you would have to do is simply in your calculator, hit the log button. So it'll look like this in your calculator. It'll be the log. It'll go right into your calculator. It's going to have an open parenthesis. You'll go ahead and put the 10 in there because I want you to take the log, right? Remember what the example problem was. I want you to take the log base 10 of 10. But hang on a second. I told you guys back on the first page of the notes that this was going to come back. Whenever you take the log, right, and the base and the augment, what you're taking the log of, whenever they're the same, they'll cancel each other out. So what you guys should know without even needing a calculator is that this is going to be equal to 1. And if you were to go ahead and do the log button on your calculator and do the log of 10, sure enough, your calculator is going to tell you, oh, hey, that is equal to 1. All right, so you have a log button on your calculator. Now, because your calculator has a log button, here in Algebra 2, we'll certainly do log base 10. They're very popular, and that's why you have a log base 10 button. They're really, really popular. They show up a lot. But we're going to try and do logarithms with different bases, in which case you cannot use the log button. If you were to just use that log button on your calculator, which is a base 10, you're going to get the problem wrong because this is a log base 16. You can only use the logarithm button on your calculator if it's a log base 10. I'll have to show you there's a couple other ways to change the base of the logarithm on your calculator, and I'll show those to you. But before I do that, I want to show you another way to do these logarithm problems where you don't even need a calculator, right? So remember, what I'm asking you to do is I'm asking you to evaluate log base 10 of 10 is equal to x, right? I want to know what is this guy equal to. Log base 10 of 10 is equal to x. Well, guys, actually, if you take a look at this, it's actually an application of the method we just learned. Yeah, snail method. Remember, you start with the base and you work your way around the equal sign, and I can rewrite this guy as 10 to the x power is equal to 10. I'll rewrite it as an exponential. 10 to the x is equal to 10. Now, this goes back to the previous section. Remember, this is the exact same thing as 10 to the first, right? This 10 is raised to an implied first power. 10 to the x is equal to 10 to the first. And we saw in section 2 of this chapter, whenever the bases are the same, you can set the exponents equal to each other. Then x is equal to 1, which is exactly what our calculator just told us. So you don't even need a calculator to evaluate these logarithmic expressions. All you need is snail method and that property, that equality property of exponential functions we saw in the previous chapter, or in the previous section. So I'll do this for all of them as well, just to help us refresh. Most of you probably will use your calculator, but don't panic. If you forget your calculator on test day, you really don't even need the calculator. The snail method and the equality property of exponents will get you through. All right, let's go on and do this one now. Log base 16 of 4. And again, like I said, because the base isn't 10, you cannot use the log button on your calculator because that log button is only for base 10. And I don't have a base 10, I have a base 16. So here's what you're going to do. Actually, you're going to have two options. Well, I take that back. Not all of you will have two options. Some of you will. Okay, here's the first thing I need to do. If you have the TI-84 graphing calculator, so the TI-84 graphing calculator, hopefully you're going to have two options. Here's the first thing I need you to check for. If you go into the math menu on your calculator, over on the far left-hand side, up near the top, there'll be a button that says math on it. If you hit that button, go into that math table, and then you start scrolling down. Scroll down, you'll probably have to go quite a ways down. You're looking for a function known as log base. And it should be written just like that. In fact, actually, I don't even think the L is capitalized. I'm pretty sure it's all lowercase log base. This is going to be a log change of base function on your TI-84 graphing calculator. If you were to select log base under that math menu, what it'll do is right on your calculator, it'll drop in log, and then there'll be two little boxes that you'll be able to edit, right? And so then in your calculator, you'll be able to drop a 16 into this box. I asked you to take the log base 16 of 4, so you would drop a 4 into this box, and on your calculator would look just like the problem we have here in our example, log base 16 of 4. That's if you have the TI-84 graphing calculator with the math print software on it, all right? Not all TI-84s are going to have this function, but if yours has it, this is a great way to evaluate logarithms. You just go into the math function or into the math menu, you scroll down until you find the log base function, and then your calculator will allow you to change that base to whatever you want it to be, and then augment what you want to take the logarithm of. Now, if your graphing calculator doesn't have this log base function on it, don't panic. And if you have a scientific calculator, you're not going to have this function on it. So here's how you're going to do these problems if you don't have this log base function on your calculator. You're going to do what's known as the change of base formula. So, change of base formula. And here's the way the change of base formula works. If you have log base b of x, right, which is exactly what we've got. We're solving problems where I've given you, actually it's the log base 16 of 4, right? That's the first one we're doing, log base 16 of 4. You have a base and you have the augment, what you're taking the logarithm of. Here's the way the log change of base works. We're going to, it's called change of base because I'm going to switch it from a base 16 logarithm, where the base is 16, and we're going to change it to a base 10 logarithm, which is perfect because you have, all calculators have a log base 10 button on them. So here's the way it's going to work. The way it works is you're going to take a log base 10 of the augment first. So I'll do a log base 10 of x. Remember, the log base 10 is the log button on your calculator. So you'll just simply hit the log button and take the log of whatever the augment is and divide it by the log base 10 of whatever the base was, b. Again, this is going to look like, since it's the base 10 is implied, you're going to do the log of x divided by the log of b. So here's what you're doing. You're taking a logarithm that was a base other than 10. In our case, it's going to be a 16. And you're going to change it to a base 10. That's why we call it the change of base formula. So I'm going from a base, in our case of 16 or whatever it is, to a log base 10, right? These are log base 10, so you can use the log button on your calculator. And it'll be the log of whatever the augment is divided by the log of whatever your original base was. Okay, so here we go. I go right back up here. Oh, hold up 1 second. There it is. There's our next example problem. So we have the log base 16 of 4, and you guys can do this one of a couple of ways, right? Either what you guys can do in your TI-84 graphing calculator is, if you have the math print, then you can certainly just go ahead and do the log base 16 of 4. You'll be able to put it in your calculator just like that. Hit enter, and your calculator is going to tell you it's equal to 1/2. If you don't have the math print software, that log base function on your calculator, you'll do the change of base formula. Well, remember the way the change of base formula works is we're going to take log of 4. So this will be log of 4 divided by log of 16. Remember, this is just then going to be the log button on your calculator because it's a log base 10. The base isn't written, so it's an implied 10. And if you do that, log of 4 divided by the log of 16, you are going to get 1/2. All right? So depending on which calculator you have, there's a way to do these problems regardless of the calculator that you have. And of course, as I promised, if you have forgotten your calculator, don't worry about it. Log base 16 of 4 is equal to x. I want to know, what is the log base 16 of 4? Well, snail method. I'm going to use the snail method to rewrite this guy as 16 to the x power is equal to 4, right? 16 to the x power is equal to 4. I rewrite it as an exponential. Then I just need to get those bases to be the same. And 16 is a 4 squared. So I can rewrite that 16 as a 4 squared raised to the x power is equal to 4, which means 4 to the 2x is equal to 4. Because my bases are the same, then I can set the exponents equal to each other. 2x is equal to 1. Solve for x. X is equal to 1/2. I get the exact same answer that my calculator would give me, even if I don't have a calculator. All right, guys, what I'll do, there's a couple more example problems here, but I'll save those for the next video. So head on over there, and I'll meet you guys in the next one.